Think about this for a moment. The more you try to control something, the more it ends up controlling you. Quite the paradox, isn't it? This, my friends, is the paradox of control, a concept that is as mystifying as it is intriguing. It's like trying to catch water in a clenched fist. The more you grasp, the more it slips away. Now, let's try to break it down. When we yearn for control, it's often because we're seeking certainty in an uncertain world. Yet, it's this very pursuit that leads us into a labyrinth of anxiety, stress, and the feeling of being overwhelmed. It's like a constant tug of war with you on both ends of the rope. That's the paradox. Our desire for control, instead of liberating us, tends to bind us in invisible chains. So keep that in mind as we unravel the complexities of this paradox. Now let's dive into some real-life stories that illustrate this paradox. Consider Jane, a perfectionist by nature. She sought control in everything she did. Jane, our protagonist, was a woman who had an insatiable desire to control every facet of her life. She was a meticulous planner with a knack for organizing every detail, be it her work, her personal relationships, or even her leisure time. Control was her superpower, and she wore it like a badge of honor. At work, she was known for her precision and an eye for detail that was as sharp as a hawk's. She would double-check every assignment, every report, and every presentation, leaving no room for errors. Her colleagues admired her for her perfectionism, but little did they know the toll it was taking on her. In her personal life, Jane's need for control was equally palpable. She had a carefully curated circle of friends who fit into her definition of perfect. She was in control of every conversation, every outing, and every decision. Her friends respected her assertiveness, but they missed the spontaneous and carefree Jane. Jane's need for control extended to her romantic relationships as well. She sought the perfect partner and strived to create the perfect relationship. But her incessant need to control every aspect of the relationship often left her feeling drained and her partners feeling suffocated. The paradox was that Jane's quest for control was actually controlling her. She was constantly anxious, always on edge, fearing that something would go wrong and disrupt her perfect world. She found herself spending more time worrying about maintaining control than enjoying the fruits of her labor. Her pursuit of perfection was slowly sucking the joy out of her life. Jane eventually realized that her desire for control was leaving her exhausted, anxious, and unhappy. She understood that she was not controlling her life, but her life was controlling her. It was a harsh truth, but it was a truth she needed to confront. Jane's story shows us how the need for control can take over our lives, leaving us feeling drained and unhappy. This is a cautionary tale for all of us who seek control in every aspect of our lives. It's a stark reminder that what we try to control controls us. Next, let's consider the story of Mark, a parent who lived in constant fear for his children's safety. Mark was a loving father, the kind who would move mountains to ensure his children's well-being. However, his fear for their safety turned into an obsessive need to control every aspect of their lives. From their friends, their hobbies, to their daily routines, Mark wanted to have a say in it all. He believed that by controlling their environment, he could protect them from the world's dangers. The irony was that the more Mark tried to control, the more he felt out of control. His constant worry became a heavy cloud that loomed over the family, casting a shadow on their happiness. His children, feeling the pressure of their father's anxiety, started to pull away. They yearned for freedom, for the chance to make their own mistakes and learn from them. Mark's constant vigilance, intended to keep them safe, was ironically causing them to seek risky situations just to escape his control. His daughter, once a bubbly and outgoing girl, became quiet and withdrawn. His son, a once passionate football player, lost interest in his favorite sport, fearing his father's overbearing presence would rob him of his joy. The more Mark saw his children pulling away, the more he tightened his grip, and the more distant they became. His fear was pushing away the very people he was trying so desperately to protect. It was a harsh wake-up call for Mark. He realized that his need for control was not about his children's safety, but about his own fear and insecurity. His love for his children had to be bigger than his fear, bigger than his need to control. Mark had to learn to let go, to trust his children, and to understand that he could not protect them from everything. He had to accept that mistakes and failures were part of their journey, part of their growth. Mark's story illustrates how our fear and need for control can damage our relationships. As these stories show, the paradox of control is a real phenomenon that affects many aspects of our lives. It's a puzzle that we all grapple with, often without even realizing it. We're like marionettes dancing to the strings of our own need for control. But here's the twist. The more we pull on those strings, the more tangled we become. Consider the perfectionist, striving for an unattainable ideal. Every single detail must be just right. And the result, stress, anxiety, and a constant feeling of dissatisfaction. The fear of making a mistake becomes so overwhelming that it stifles creativity and joy. The perfectionist becomes a prisoner of their own expectations. And then there's the fearful parent, consumed by the desire to protect their child from every possible harm. But in their quest for control, they stifle their child's independence and growth. Their fear casts a long shadow over their relationship, damaging the very bond they're trying to protect. The paradox of control is like a quicksand. The more you struggle, the deeper you sink. But there is a way out. It starts with acceptance. Accept that you can't control everything. Accept that mistakes and uncertainties are part of life. Embrace them as opportunities for growth and learning. Next, practice mindfulness. Be present in the moment. Instead of worrying about what could go wrong, focus on what is happening right now. By being fully present, you can respond to situations more effectively and enjoy life more fully. And finally, let go. It may sound counterintuitive, but sometimes the best way to gain control is to release it. By letting go of the need to control everything, you free yourself from the stress and anxiety that come with it. You allow room for spontaneity, creativity, and joy. Remember, it's okay to let go. Sometimes the best way to gain control is to release it. And in that release, you might just find the freedom you've been searching for.